Let's get a start demo first. So this is same series of Azure storage features. So we'll learn table storage of Azure Table Storage. So here few endpoint I have just created in .NET Core Web API along with Azure Storage, implement. So here first I will just add. So let me add first, like for example, name my name or something like that. It is a block storage table, right? So we can add something uh, C sharp. So name is a C sharp, and whatever name you can just put a description. Also we can add it as like my description, and author would be like for example Karthik Kumar. So once I add execute, so now see 201 is there. And if I want to see what I just added, so also this is another endpoint which will return that all that list. For example, when I execute, see, so once storage is just created, which is C sharp, let me create one more so that we can check like, okay, whatever data we are creating, that get all endpoint returning all the data. So for example, Azure storage as a blog. So my description, and also Karthik. So let me execute, and then it is done, and then also just execute. See, there is another record also will be there. So this is that endpoint which is actually returning all the in data which is stored that table. So that will return all the data. And also here get by id. So if I pass that id, so based on this id they will returning a single record of that row particular table. That table has a rows, so they will returning single rows. So see, there's a single records also returning. And if I want to update something, for example, as of now, see, as of now Azure storage, so let me change it to, for example, change this, and id also change, and similar like update operation. So for example, it was Azure storage, right? So let me change this to Azure Table Storage, right? And this is for logging or any kind of information to set, right? And for example, also need to update to Karthik Kumar Odar. So like that actually we can just update. So one day execute, see 204, that means it's done. So let me make sure like whatever we updated that is properly updated or not. If I execute, see, whatever just updated, they also updated in our Azure Table Storage. And if I want to delete, so also I can just delete with this delete endpoint. So let me uh, pass that id. If I execute, now see it is delete. So let me confirm first with the retrieve all that get all data from this endpoint. So once I execute, so it should be remaining only one record because second record I have been deleted, right? And if it is checking the with the id, if you get, so definitely I will get this not found uh, status, because that data does not exist. That's why I'm returning this not found. So that's all I think for this demo. So let me start for the implementation. So before implementation, I'm especially recommend to watch my previous session which is related to Azure storage. So I just created few session on this series, how we can see, like how we can create a local storage, so that you can just start your learning and implement itself in a local. And also how we can send a message, how we can retrieve the message. So those are series actually we are trying to implement or try to develop in this series. So please start that one. Or also especially share this link, actually GitHub link, so you can check out my this repository so that you can get all that previous session code as well. And now let me open same repository which already we have done. So let me close this and see, this is the same repository which already we have done in previously. So what I will do in this case, first of all I'll just create an entity for the table. So let me create one, and here let me create a folder first. Let me create an entity, and inside that entity I will just create a one entity. That means that is a table, right? So the table entity we have to create first. So what would be the table name? I just added a block, but whatever name you want you can just put it as just for demonstration purpose perspective I will use that block. And here I actually I have to add, one interface. We have to inherit this table for the Azure storage table. So for that actually we need one NuGet package. So that is called Azure storage table package. So what I will do, simply I will just import one package from here, go to NuGet package and just search for Azure data tables, right? Let me zoom in for you so that you can clearly see what is that name of that Azure table, Azure NuGet packages, Azure table NuGet packages. So this is that NuGet packages, and whatever the stable version you can choose is that one. Let me install that. So once done, you can just make sure over here the green tick. Once green tick done, and also here just uninstall, update one is disable, or uninstall one is enable. So that means it is properly installed. So once it's done, now here what I will do, simply I just inherit that I table entity, and we have to bring the namespace as well. See, Azure data tables, and if you see this one, so this will also will show some implement things, right? So if you inherit this, so that means those some default key, actually some default property, they will tell, okay, you have to implement every table, which table you want to implement. Okay, so let me first implement that. And by default it is given that that throw exception, but yeah, we can remove it or one by one. So also we can just remove this, and also lambda expression, also this, and this, right? Like, we have to just create our property as like an property like get and setter. So what I will do, again, just simply let me remove this guy. So once you remove, you can see this is simple, our default property. We have to keep this, and additionally whatever property you want, you can just add it inside this your blog entity, right? So this is a default entity. And what are these? Actually, see, by default Azure table storage is given this partition key. What that means, suppose you have just created one table, but that one table you can store multiple data. So that's why they given a partition. So based on this partition, suppose I want to store block information, I want to store some block details information, I want to store some other information. So instead of creating a different table, so they thinking, okay, you can just use one table as well based on this partition key. Suppose I want to store block information, so I can just use that in a blog as a partition, and add that on information. And if I want to another table information, so I can just add, and thus add some other information, right? And you can just keep it those property which one you want to add, and which one to you don't want to add a value, so you can just keep it as a null. Like this way actually they thinking. But yeah, as per your convenience, whatever you prefer, or whatever your requirement, you can just add it. So as of now, what I will do, simply I just use as a string and as a name, and similar actually the description, and also that final one would be as a author, so for the demonstration perspective. So author, so that is fine. So let's say I added this three property, and we don't need to create actually those field in our uh, blog storage. It's automatically will be created while we inserted the data. I'll tell you how we can do that. So also this table, whatever table we just created newly, also we don't need to create that, also will be create. If it is not exist, so also will be created. So also that we not need to take in care anything. So see, blog entity has been created. Now what I need to do, I have to create one service as like we have created previously for the Azure bus service. So similar, what I will do, I just create another service so that our controller can interact it. So let me create a folder, for example, Azure table Azure table, right? And this Azure table, what I will do, simply I have to create one interface that is called Azure Storage Table Service. So Azure Storage Table Service, let me add, before add, just make it interface because I am just creating an interface. So let me create an interface. And once your interface has been created, what you need to do, you have to simply add those method like insert, update, delete, whatever service you want, you can just add inside this Azure storage, right? Table storage. So first method would be like for example, I want to get all the records, right? So simply I can use the task list of that blog response, whatever we can just converting our DTO, right? So that's why this is a they will return an entity, but we have to simply conversion our DTO. So let me create this blog response as well in our view model folder. So we'll actually trying to keep as a standard, so that's why we using like this way. So you can just use it directly, but that is not a good way actually, so that's why I'm using always this way. So yeah, let me use that blog response, and whatever your property you want to show to the client, so those property you can appearing over here, right? So let me show this. For example, I want to show only ID, name, description and author, or if you want to show as a partition, so also you can just add those partition, but yeah, as of now I don't require that. So that's why I keep it I don't add it actually. And go back to interface and bring back the model, right? So see, like this gets done. Now what others I have to add? For example, I want to one more method that should be return get by ID, so that whatever ID I will pass, based on this they will return a single response, a single entity of that block table, right? Storage table. And also other CRUD operation we have to do over here, that third one would be our add operation. So I just want to add as per that whatever information I just pass it, so based on this I just want to add that record inside this blog storage table, right? And similar I want to update as well, so let me add that update one. So this is update. Also all the returning is a true false, whatever, if it is success to true, if it is fail so false. And update also expected that ID, and also whatever the entity we have to update. And the delete one also. So the last one would be about delete. So whatever if I want to delete some records from this table, so I can just delete it, right? So like this way actually we can create some service, and will we implement those service in our concrete class. So let me create that concrete class inside this Azure table folder. Go to that class, go to service, and here let me create that, and let me inherit that of our Azure service interface and implement those method, right? So there's a not proper order because first is add, delete, and also first what I will do, I will just cut from there and take it enough first, so that I will implement like this way. Like first I will implement get, then get by ID, then add, and then update, and then delete, right? So like this order actually, this our order actually. So whatever order you can just keep it as per your, but yeah, I think this is the right way. So yeah, once it's get by here, so what I will do now, I have to inject, I have to record once table client, right? Azure storage table client. So where I can get it? So if I actually use that table storage client, for example, just I have to use over here, right? So if I use over here, for example, table service client, right? Because based on this table service client, I have to uh, I have to do all the operations, right? So let me create an injected. So if I inject it to, so definitely we have to resolve the dependency. So how we can resolve the dependency? First we have to resolve the dependency of that, right? So for that, what I will do, before I start the implementation of a service, what I will do, I just have to uh, register over there, or either first we can just implement, then we can register. Okay, so I think that also fine, whatever way. But yeah, first let me implement, because I just started over here. So what I will do over here, uh there's a many way actually you can just implement, but as of now what I will do, simply I'll just create a get client. Yeah, see, get table client over here, right? So in this table client, they expected the table name, right? So in this table service client, if whatever table name actually if you pass, so based on this we have to actually insert, update, delete. So as of now I just keep it as a hard coded, but yeah, we can use some dynamic as well, like our caller we can send as a services, they can pass another table name, and they can just, while just initializing, we can just store, and based on this we can use it, right? So now as of now just will use, for example, uh my uh or sir blog demo, right? So let me add, because blog already exists, so that's why I'm not using that blog, so that's why I'm using the blog demo. And as of now if you see there is a blog, my demo, and my tables, right? So three tables is available, so that's why I just keep it a unique name, so that once I run and I try to insert, so that will be generated automatically. I will not create via via this Azure Storage Explorer. So this is done. Now see, it is return type is table client, right? So let me make it as a table client. This is table client, and that's it. Also we can make it as a table client, so we can make it as a table client, and also make same it table client. So once this table client done, now we'll start our implementation. So table client, copy this table client, and dot, here you can get entities, right? So there's a many way actually we can use, like get entities, and also there's a get entities, and all the method actually they provide it. So based on this we can just use, and we can get the result. So get entities actually return the single entity. So in this case what I will do, I have to use that query. So in this query, see, there is a query async method, so that async method, whatever type actually, so our type is the block types, because this is the entity type our, so we can pass as a block type. And here they expecting, see, there is expecting whatever parameter, like, so first parameter is a filter, and also that filter is nothing, so you can just pass it to null as a filter. And also max per page, whatever max per page you want, you can just pass it. And that interval selected things also there, like whatever selected you want, you can just pass it. So what I will do, simple, I will just use as a filter over there. And in this filter, what I need to do, we have to nothing, I have to do that nothing, right? So simply I can just this. But if you want to some filter, so what you can do, simply you can just use as a lambda expression, e dot, and see the all the property you can able to see over here. And here you can just compare your property name and all, and based on this you can just filter and pass it, right? So there is a many way they provide actually in this section, but as of now in my case I just want without filter, so I can get it. And also if I want some pages, right, per page how many records you want, so you can just add it. So as of now I just keep it null, but yeah, you can just add 5, 10, 100, whatever things, right, based on this. So let's done this, and let me store as a variable over here. So for example, query table, or just table result. And now we are getting a data over here. And once you are getting a data, what I will do, simply I have to iterate this loop. Actually this is a collection, right? So we have to iterate the loop through and get the data. So let me create a for each loop, and here what I will do, I will use this guy in here, and I can get those data over here, right? So this is this is asynchronous method. So what I need to do, we have to set as a await, so that now we can meet our expectation over here. And once it's done, now this is our entity, right? So I have to return back. Actually we have to need some conversion, so there's a best way actually we have to do for that mapper, imapper, but here I am not using imapper. But yeah, if you want to do in a very simple simplest way, so you can use imapper. There is a many session I have done, so you can just take it one of the session, and you can just learn how we can do that. So as of now I will not do that. So simply I have to just create one list of the block list, which I can just add all the list inside this list item. So let me add that, and then also in this list, block this list, I will add record one by one, iterate this for each loop. Simply block dot add, and this is a block response, and whatever the type we are get from that item dot row, item dot author, item dot name, item dot description. So like this way actually we can retrieve the data inside this block list, and simply I can return over here as a block list, right? So this is done. This is one endpoint has been done, very simple way. Now implement, now just implement second one for get by id. Here also the similar way I have to use that table client service, uh, table client, sorry, table client. And here where is that, here, right? In this table client dot, now we have to record single record, right? We have to record single record. So what I will do, I will use this cat entity, because this is a returning single entity. But here one thing actually we have to take in care. See, the expectation partition key and row key, right? But here now we have an id, right? So this is a row id, but where is the partition key? So there is a many way actually. If you want to pass at the partition key, that is also fine. But yeah, if I trying to this implementation, so right now I want to create a one table over here, and if I want to only one partition over here right now, so that's why I can use directly. So let me create a one partition. But yeah, it's also up to you, you can use. But yeah, for the demonstration perspective, I'm showing you how we can use that partition. So let me create a one partition, for example this, right, as a block partition. So that partition we can just pass it over here first, and also you can just pass to that id, right, whatever row id. So like this way you can use it. And also what you have to do, simply use await and just use as a variable, for example blog entity. And now the expectation something else, what they actually expect over here. So this is okay, so these are required actually generic method as well. So that's why we have to pass whatever type you want to get, right? So we want to get actually blog entity, right? So that actually the expecting. And here again, simply what I need to do, I have to just create a return, because this is a response is different, which is be returning from the data model. So that's why we have to need to some conversion again. So in this case what I need to do, again I have to just convert to like this way, right? So I just create a blog response, and here we create a new instance of that blog response, and whatever blog entity we are getting, we just returning as a over here and pass it over here, and simply return as a blog, right? So like this way also we have done for the second get by implementation. Now we have to start for add implementation, right? Means add. So how we can do that, this is again very simple and straightforward. Now see, here we are getting this, but yeah, use the table client, remove that guy, and this table client has that add entity as like this is the method which we can use, and also expected is a entity of that blog, and that is expect. Now see, this is expecting actually based on this your type, right? So let me pass as a type. So we want to insert what, we want to insert our blog entity, right? So based on this type actually you can just pass your entity. So now we have another entity, right? Because we have data model. So what I need to do, simply I have to conversion over here. So let me converse first. So now I just create a block entity, and what I am doing, just convert to our block entity to DTO2 domain entity. So copy this, passes to over here and the expected method, and here again what I need to do, simply store as a response. And if you see the return, also see the exception also written, request field exception. So that also we can do that, but yeah, you can just try catch, and also you can just, if any error or this while inserting something goes wrong, so you can capture that exception based on this request field exception method, means exception. You can use that, but as of now I'm not doing that. Simply what I will do, return as a true. So that is done. Now also, okay, we miss actually that await async. So now this is also done, very simple. Now converging this and use that add entity and pass it to that entity. That is done. Now go to that update one now. So in update also, what I need to do first, actually we have to retrieve the database on this ID, that is exist or not. So that we have to check. So how we can check, again is simple, as like we done in our get by id, right? So in this get by id we using that queries things, not this one. If you go to that, yeah, get by id, so simply we pass that id and partition, we are getting the data, right? So similar way we have to first just, we have to get that id with the data. For example, table client, use that, and it is missing actually async, so that's why it's complaining. So yeah, see, table client using the get entities and pass it the partition, whatever partition, and based on this id it will retain the data. And here we can just update, if it is exist, actually we can check like, okay, if it is exist, so then we can proceed. If it is not exist, so then we can return back exception and something. So I'm not doing that, but yeah, you can just in our in your real project, so definitely you have to take in care those things. So what I need to do, simply whatever the data, I just assign that over here, like current blog value, author name, and whatever property you want, you just assign and pass it to whatever data you are coming from that UI. So that assign to our entity. And finally you just have to call this guy to update method. So where is that update method? See, update as a single one, and also there's a asynchronous way. So I will use always that asynchronous way, that is good actually. So here simply you have to pass this entity, and here now see what are the parameter actually expecting. Let me check first. See, they expecting entity, blog entity, as well as the Azure etc one, right? So there's another property actually. If you see the from the starting, see, by default they generate this four property, right? So partition key, row key, and timestamp, and this etc1, right? So they expecting while updating this property. So that's why we are trying to get first, and it's have the all the property, we can pass it to over here. So let me pass it. So first we have to pass this guy, that is one. And now what I need to do, I have to pass this guy, and also need to get this value using that value dot etc, right? So now it's done, and also make it to await, because it is asynchronous one. And finally what I will do, simply I can just return as a true. If it is no exception, so that means it's true, right? So this is done. Now this is also done. So that is last one is pending for delete. So let me quickly implement the delete also very much similar to that update one. And because we have to first again we have to get, right, we have to get all this record and make it to a sync. And first just checking the blog entities exist or not. If it is exist, then we have to trying to delete, right? And again we have to call this guy to delete method. So where is the delete method? See, this is that there is a two method actually, delete and delete entity. So you are trying to delete that entity, right? So that's why we're using the delete entity. Delete one, this is actually delete the table delete. So if you want to delete the table, so this is that method. So I'm not going to delete the table, I'm just going to delete the entity. So see, just pass it to this and also make it to await async. And something more expecting actually over this method. So let me check what is that. So if you see, yeah, see the partition key and row key, right? So again same things we required, partition key and row key. So pass this guy partition key and row key. And this is the same order, yeah, partition key, row key, and this is a default, right? So we don't need to take in care this guy. So yeah, partition key, right? So I think that one, I think we have to pass. So that is something value dot partition key and then row key, right? So dot value dot row key. So yeah, I think the type mismatch issue was there because they expecting string and also they are string, like row key. So these two things actually, yeah, they expecting. And once it's done, simply bring back so that you can able to see, yeah, still some error. So what is that error? It is saying clearly some non-generic method to this and this, right? So actually they don't require this pass to entity. So what I will do, simply by mistakenly I added, but yeah, we can remove like this. So we can remove and simple I can just pass it as a true, right? So now see, let me show you one by one again. So let's all the implementation is done for that get all, get by id, add, update and delete, right? So once it's done, now our service has been ready to use. And we can consume that also in our controller. So go to that controller, let me create a new controller over here so that I can consume that service. Yeah, one thing is still pending. See, this dependency injection, right? So that we have to resolve. Neither definitely it will throw the exception, because once you're running your application, we have not resolved this dependency, right? So that we have to do that. And also connection strings, that also we have to do that. So don't worry about that, we'll do that. First let me complete the implementation. So add a new controller and use that API, use that blank API, and make it that as a Azure Table Storage controller. So this is created now. Let me create a constructor so that I can use our that service. What is that service? The name. Let me copy this guy from here. Go back to your controller, inject this guy, and let me inject it over here so that I can use our endpoints. So now it's done. Now I can just create our endpoints, right? So let me create our endpoints one by one. Like first I will just create a get endpoints, so here I can just get all the data. So let me quickly create that endpoint. See, http get async task and get all. And here I will just use this service and get all method, which is provide in our Azure services, right? And whatever data we have, we simply return as a here. Similar, I'll just create for that get by id. I will not create a one by I will not write a line the code because it will take another time. So It is a very simple thing, so that's why I'm not doing that. And again, what I need to do, simply change this guy because I have already created. So now see, it is again, we just call that method, our service method, return back to the response. We check the response and show it to UI, right? And now we have to implement that post method where I can just insert the data. So here that post method again, http post, we create simple a post method. We are expecting as a blog response from as a UI, and let me change to our service name. So this is my service injected service name, add method, and we pass to our response, and rather things we taken care of our status code result. And what are the left? Now we have pending for put as well. So let me implement that put quickly. So this is the update one. So I using the http put over here, the put method expecting that id and also the response, which is passing the user, and change it to this guy to over here, and that's it. Now checking the response if it is that, and then simply return to no content. And the final one would be our delete one. So let me add that guy. Yeah, similar http delete and delete, and let me change this to, why I'm not doing from the from the scratch one by line, because I many session actually I create this all the endpoint insert of the delete in .NET Core web API. So you can just check out my all the session where I just deeply explain like what are the means, what the action result, what are the http verbs, so everything actually explain. So now see, everything implementation perspective, everything is done. Let me quickly show you all the endpoint is ready. So now starting to configuration. So what are the configuration we have to need to do? First you have to check this one. If you show this extension method, this is Azure Client Factory Builder extension method. If you don't know what is that, definitely that's why actually I recommend watch my previous session where actually I start this these things. So definitely you got idea why is this method and what is actually doing. So let me show you. So once you open this file, now see, already we have registered or create an extension for that queue service client, right? So similar way we have to create for this table service client. So I have to just create a one extension method where I can just pass our connection string and we can register, right? So let me create first this method and create a body, and I'll explain actually. So see, I just create simple extension method of this add table service client, and in this add service client actually they expecting this this is a extension method actually. So in this extension method, so they expecting the connection string as well as the prefix MSI. So here what I need to do, simply I have to check if it is a URI. So what I need to do, if it is a URI, so let me get that URI and add this at table service client. If it is not an URI, so simply whatever as a connection string we have passed, so that connection pass just adding to over this, right? So like this way actually we have to just create extension method, and this extension method actually we have to use in our uh, program.cs file, similar way which we have done for this, right? So yeah, if it, especially that's why I recommend please watch my this series from starting, neither definitely you will not digest actually what we are doing. So what once is done, what you need to do, go back to your program.cs file. Here see, I already use that, I use that builder.service.azure clients, and inside this client builder we just registered that extension method like queue extension method, right? So same way what I need to do, I have to use that client builder dot add that table client, right? Inside this table client what I can do, simple similar way I can use it, the configuration data, and get it from here, and we can change as a queue, instead of queue we can use as a tables, right? and those configuration also we have to taken care in our app.json file. Go to that app.json file. See, this is your queues connection string, right? So similar things you can get it from that queue. So if you go to that storage here, this one, so if you go to this one, so you can just copy your connection string for this as a here, and copy to here, pass it to your connection string for this table as well, like this. So that is done, and use this name to here. That's it. So this is, we are getting the connection string and pass it to over here, and that extension method will handle taken care rest of things. That's why we create that extension method. See, this is the extension method. So now almost all the configuration has been done, but one thing is still is pending. See, previously we just create for Azure services which is dependent on our controller. So now our new controller we have created which is dependent for this service, right? This Azure service, so that we have to register. So this is a register part. So let me register quickly and add scope, and here just pass to this, and then implementation class as well. So this is that implementation class. So I hope everything is done, and let me build and see in actions. So the build also succeeds. Let me run this. So this is Azure storage one, and this is Q1. So this is Azure storage one, right? See, the get, post, delete, everything is work here. Let me show you quickly. Also there is a nothing. Let me refresh. Let me refresh so that I can check, like, okay, only we have blog and my, but in our case actually we should create a new table, like that is a blog demo. So that's why I'm showing over here. So first let me insert one data so that we can create our table, right? So try out, and for example uh table storage demo, right? And for example my demo description, and author would be Karthik, and let me execute and see, it is 201. That means it should be created. Let me check for here and refresh for the refresh here as a table. So if you refresh the table, there is a no table has been created. That means there is some issue, right? So what I need to do, simply I have to debug and check it, what is the problem over there. So go back to your controller, go to the controller, go to that post method. Where is the post method? Here, right? And let me debug to here, and what I need to do, go to this guy, and let me check what happening actually here. So let me execute one more time. This is a good actually. If it is not working, then we can debug as well. So let me hit this guy. It is reading over here. Now just see, this is written back over here. That means some error over there. So that's why actually I suggest you can just use a try catch. Okay, and inside the try catch we can definitely get that error. What is that error? And let me put inside this try catch and put one more catch actually, because they are returning this exception, request fail exception. So what is that request fail exception? You can just copy this request fail exception, catch here, request fail exception, request fail exception, and inside that we can just try to get what is the exception. And let me put the debugger point over here. and stop that, and also debugger point put over here, and let me run one more time. Try out, and simply I'm not modify anything. Let me check what is that issue first. So go back over here, F10, 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 F10. Now see, we are getting the data. It is saying table specification does not exist. Okay, so this is a good thing actually that I want to show you also. So see, if I specify one table that is not exist, so definitely while pushing the data or creating the data, that will tell, okay, this is the problem because table is does not exist. So in this case, what I we have options to, if it is not exist, so we can tell forcefully, okay, if it is not exist, please create for me. If it is not exist, and insert to data. So this is that method actually, create if not exist. And let me add and await this. So now run and see. See, now let me post, similar post, execute. Now go to there, go to there, now go there. Now this time this will execute, and if it is not there, then definitely it will create. Once it's create, now see, this time it is returning 204, and also it is expecting. Now it is 201, and if I go to check, refresh for the table, now see, our table is there. Once I load, our data is also there. Let me create one more with this good data, means as per my data. For example, Azure storage, and demo for description is my Azure storage table description. Author would be Karthik Kumar, and let me execute. And also again the debugger point. So now this time I will just continue, I will not debug. So once it's done, let me check in our storage, that will refresh. See, another table also created, another row is created with this data, right? And also now I can check with other endpoint. So this is get all. So let me try out get all. Now get all actually returning all the data, all the rows. And if I want to particular record, so copy this ID and go to that get by ID, try out get by ID. Also we are returning get by ID. If I want to update, let me update. So this is Azure storage, so let me change it to something, pass it to ID as ID, and then change it to a name. For example, if previously it was Azure storage, now I will change it to Angular or Blazor or something like Blazor, and Blazor description, and author would be Karthik, and execute. Once you execute, let me refresh over here. See, data is updated. Also we can make sure by get by ID endpoint. So this is get by ID endpoint. Now see, it's got change. Let me zoom in for you. This is got change. And if I want to delete, also we can quickly delete as well. Let me make sure the delete also is working fine. So see, this is done. Once I want to check here again, this get by ID, it should be written as a not found. See, specific resource does not exist, right? And we can make sure get by on point. See, only one data is over there. And also we can make sure here, see, one data is there, right? So this is done for this session, right? And then upcoming session we'll actually create one more things. These two things actually we covered, like for the Azure storage feature, like table storage and the queue storage. So the third feature for the Azure storage, actually that upload file in the blob storage. So that will complete in the upcoming session. So till now, thank you, have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.